Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 playoffs. I wanted to just talk a little bit this morning before we begin practice about the season, talk a little bit about the status of our team with respect to our health as we head in to the playoffs, and be available for any questions when we're finished. To summarize the season, we're extremely pleased and proud to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the sixth time in 7 years. It's a hard league to make the playoffs in, and I think that the challenges that we had as a team this year make it that much more remarkable when we had to overcome the injuries that we did. And I know I'm sick of talking about it, you're sick of hearing about it, but they definitely made it a much more challenging season for our coaches and our players. I'd like to recognize Jonathan Marchessault, Ivan Barbashev, Braden McNabb for playing all 82 games, which was a real accomplishment this year. Chandler Stevenson, Keegan Colasar, both over 75 games. And then from there, the number of players that missed significant time. And I think that's where I have to give Bruce Cassidy and his staff a lot of credit for working our way through the year. It's a long season, and there was a lot of nights where we played without 7 or 8 players, and it goes without saying, a lot of those nights it was without some of our top players. So proud of our group from that respect. Interestingly, our record against playoff teams was almost identical to our record against non-playoff teams. We lost some season series to teams that missed the players. So if you're looking for opportunities where we could have had in excess of 98 points, we missed some opportunities there, and yet our team always showed the ability to respond against real good teams. So I think that speaks to, I think, their pedigree and the competitive spirit of our group. The makeup of the roster, I believe the additions to our team at the trade deadline, Anthony Mantha, Noah Hannafin, and Thomas Hertl, I think really helped our team. I think they made us better. On defense, made us better up front, gave us more depth at both positions, and I really like the makeup of our roster as we head into playoffs. Returning to health is going to be one of the big keys for our team. We're going to be healthier going into the playoffs than we have been for a while. That brings me to the status of Mark Stone. On February 20th, Mark was injured in a game against Nashville. We announced it at that time that he had a laceration of his spleen. He, in fact, suffered a grade 3 laceration of his spleen that day. That game was on a Tuesday. By the time we got later in the week and met with our doctors in terms of the timeline that it was anticipated he would miss, the doctor said it to me exactly like this. He said, "Kelly, there's a stack of literature," he had his hand on the desk, "there's a stack of literature this high saying that injury is going to take 3 to 6 months. There's a stack of literature this high saying it could take less than that." So that was the information that we had given to us at the time of Mark's injury. They monitor it by a series of ultrasounds and CT scans as he progresses. He was cleared on April 12th to skate non-contact. He has been cleared now to take full contact, so he'll be a regular participant in practice here today and tomorrow. We'll see how he responds with respect to his availability for Game 1. I want to just touch on a couple of things with it, because there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of insinuation about his injury. The NHL is 100% involved in any of these LTIR situations involving teams. Their chief medical director speaks to the surgeon, speaks to our medical team, speaks to our athletic therapist, has access to every document that is filed, every diagnostic test that has been given. They have access to all of that information. That's what keeps the system legitimate. They are the people that are fully involved in this. So I don't know that maybe fans or media understand the degree to which these injuries are scrutinized. We've had the situation with Mark. Ironically, it's the same player. We've talked openly about what his surgery was a year ago. This year was a freak accident. When you watch the replay of the check, which I'm sure you all have, you wouldn't anticipate that it would be an injury like that to come out of a collision like he had with the Nashville player. I'll answer questions on Mark when I'm through, but that's the information that I wanted to provide there. Alex Pietrangelo will be in full practice today as well. Alex had his appendix removed. He left a game day skate in Arizona a couple of weeks ago and came home, had his appendix removed. He's been recovering from an appendectomy. He'll be back in our lineup today for practice. Chandler Stevenson will be a full participant in practice today. He had missed a little time. Will Carrier will be a full participant. He had missed a longer period of time. Anthony Manta will practice today in a non-contact jersey. And today, Jonathan Marchessault and Ben Hutton will take maintenance days. They will not be at practice. Those are my opening comments. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We have mics on both sides, so just wait and we'll get it to you. Start in front.
Hi, Kelly. Jesse Granger at The Athletic. You mentioned maybe the perspective of the fans or the media in terms of the Mark Stone. With the NHL checking in on it, can you just, I guess, take us through the last couple weeks? Because I would guess that that's probably where people are wondering, was Mark, could he have been cleared earlier? Like, can you just take us through maybe your dealings with the NHL recently?
The NHL are involved in everything that we do. Our dealings aren't with the NHL. Our dealings are with the medical people that are overseeing Mark's care. They look in on that. So, as I mentioned, it's a series of scans, ultrasounds and scans. That's what dictates the health of the spleen. I may have mentioned before, this isn't a situation where players coming off a shoulder injury or a knee injury where you might be able to play at 80%. His spleen has to be 100% healed for him to be able to play. And this is that is how it played out. That's exactly how it played out. That brings us to where we are here today.
Danny.
Hi, Kelly. Danny Webster, Las Vegas Review-Journal. As far as Mark, obviously this being the third big procedure that he's had in the last 2 years, I guess, can you just maybe enlighten us maybe the conversations you had with him as far as keeping his mental spirits up? Because this is obviously the second half that he's had to miss and just the work that he's had to get back.
It's a good question, and I think that the other part of it is, even last year, we're the Stanley Cup champions last year. We went through a stretch where there would have been concerns that we were going to be a playoff team, right? And I think that we had some similar concerns this year when we were not playing as well as we were able to or as we needed to. So I think there's that part of it as the captain when you're out of the lineup. But I think that he's a dedicated guy. He's an optimistic player. He did everything humanly possible that you could do to recover as quickly as possible. So a lot of those things are with respect to rest, nutrition, the treatment that he received from our own trainers, everything he could do to gain whatever amount of time that might be. But he kept himself included. I think he felt 2 years ago that he ended up removed from the team and he's your captain. So I think that he made a real conscious effort to be more involved in everything that the team was doing. Obviously he doesn't travel. That wouldn't have been appropriate, but was around the team a lot more this time, I would say.
Kelly, just looking at the playoffs moving forward, I remember you and George talking last year just about how stressful the days in, the highs and lows of a playoff run. I'm curious with all these guys coming back and just the mental state of this team, what that does for a group heading into a tough opening round.
Well, I think guys are always excited when good players come back to your lineup. So it's an exciting time of year. I think that there's tremendous anticipation. We're playing a really good team in the Dallas Stars, a team we played a year ago in the playoffs. Interestingly, as it came down to the final days, we may have played the Edmonton Oilers. We ended up playing the Dallas Stars. You know, truly a pick 'em. You know, I think two really, really good teams. So we know that's going to be a real challenge. But I think NHL players, you know, half of them don't get to play in the playoffs. So I think they're excited to be in the playoffs. We're the defending champions, so I think they know what it feels like when it works the way that you want it to. And it's just you know, the 82 games with the injuries we had, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. This is fun. This is fun, and this is definitely high stakes, high stress, all of those things. But it's why you're involved in sports, is for opportunities like this.
Mark Anderson, AP. Obviously, you basically ran it back after last year's championship. How much will, however you do in the playoffs, affect your off-season decisions, or do you look more at the season as a whole?
Well, one thing at a time. We're excited about Monday night in Dallas. That's I guess the first order of business. You know, we had a unique situation last year in that we returned, you know, with the exception of one player, our entire team. You know, since that time, we've added the players I touched on earlier, Mantha, Hanifin, and Hurdle. So I think we've really strengthened ourselves from a personnel standpoint, and it's all about the playoffs right now, and that's where our focus is, and that's, you know, we're excited to again, as I touched on, to have the opportunity to do this.
Danny, and then Jesse.
Kelly, in regards to Alex Pietrangelo, was his appendix the main reason why he was out for that long period of time, or was it one situation with the appendix and then another illness?
He had an illness. Would he come back and play 2 games, I believe? He had an illness that was not COVID. I guess I can say that. It was more of an internal issue that they had a little bit of trouble getting him back to playing. He got through that, returned to play, then had the situation in Arizona at morning skate. His initial fear, or I guess our initial thoughts, were it would be related to what he had missed time with previously. Turned out when he got back to Las Vegas and they did the CT scan, he had appendicitis. So then they took his appendix out, and the recovery time on, you know, appendicitis can be anywhere from, you know, 2 to 4 weeks, that type of thing. So he, you know, rehabbed from that, and now he's, you know, back ready to go. So they, you know, the information we're given is they were unrelated. The fact that there was an illness, then 2 games, then appendicitis would make you wonder, but that's the information that we've been provided.
Hi, Kelly. Over the last couple of years, it just seems like when goalies get an opportunity on this team, they take full advantage. You look at Brossoit
We
last year.
couldn't do one without a goalie question, eh?
You look, exactly.
Yes, I knew this was coming. Okay.
Brossoit and Hill last year,
Yes.
big opportunities. They took advantage. Logan Thompson, down the stretch with Hill hurt, is playing some of his best hockey.
Yes.
When you look at it from a big picture, like obviously the goalies deserve credit, Sean Burke, what do you think it is about this group of goalies that has been able to take advantage of the opportunities they get?
Well, talent. They have. They're skilled. You know, and at their position, they have great talent. You know, Aiden showed us last year the ability that he has. You know, it's almost forgotten that last year Logan, you know, had the bulk of the work up until the All-Star game. He was an All-Star goaltender, and you know, it's like any position. Those guys have peaks and valleys. Right now, Logan is in a really good spot. I think one of the things I didn't touch on when I opened is I might have said it at when I did media at the trade deadline, but you know, last year I felt we turned the page at the All-Star break. This year I felt we turned the page after the trade deadline, and certainly that's true of Logan. That for me is when Logan has played his best hockey. He's had really good starts since that time, and you know, had the opportunity to be in the net, and then his play has earned him the right to stay in the net. So good on him. And then, as I said with Aiden, you know, we know exactly what he can do. He's been a Stanley Cup champion as a starting goalie. So that part, you know, again, I'll give as you did, Sean Burke credit. I think the way our team plays with Bruce is part of that. But I think we got to give those two goalies credit as well.
Kelly, I'm curious, going back to 2022 when the team missed the playoffs, obviously a lot of man games lost at that time as well. And I believe this year tops near either top 2 or 3 in terms of man games lost this year. Is it easy to say that winning last year and the mentality going into this year is the reason why they were able to kind of power through and finish through even with all the man games lost, or do you notice a difference between maybe the year in 22 when they missed compared to this year?
I think winning makes you better, so I think it gives you a belief, like a confidence, Danny. The real key trip this year for me, we did the 4-game trip at St. Louis, at Nashville, at Winnipeg, at Minnesota, Minneapolis, and got 7 of 8 points. And that particular year, some of our late road trips were our demise. So I think that was a real, that for me, again, it was post-deadline, as I just touched on. I thought it gave our guys some confidence, and it created a good energy around our team. I think that's the thing that has been noticeable, is the guys are in a good frame of mind with how we've played, with the team getting a little bit healthier, with playoffs on the horizon, all of those things. I think that's been a big part of it. I didn't feel that way at the end of the 2022 season, Danny. So that would be what the one noticeable difference has been. And you make the point. We're not the first team to have 500 man games of injuries, but usually those teams are out of the playoffs by U.S. Thanksgiving, right? And that's where it's been continually sort of having to scratch and claw. The number of call-up players that we've had from Henderson are in our lineup. We did a 5-game trip east where we took 5 players from the American League on our trip. So that's not just tough for the coaches. That's tough for what it does for all of those players that have been every night guys, right? So that's credit to all of those people.
At the trade deadline, when you ruled Mark out for the season, you said there was some possibility that it could have been shorter than that. When it started to look like it was possible he was going to come back close to the end of the season, was there ever a plan that, what do we do if he does make it back before the season ends? No,
the information we had was that it would be 3 to 4 months. It was never revisited. It was much later than that before we knew anything about how his spleen was healing.